Just a sec, hold up. Here we go.
Okay. We're in podcast mode because my camera is still not working, and I guess everything technology related in my house does not want to work. So that's a little annoying, but nonetheless, we're still gonna do a quick review of Dark Side of the Ring, in which the focal point of the episode was Chris Kanyon, who I happen to admire. His work I happen to admire. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Who better than Kanyon? I am Derrick Showtime Jr., by the way, folks, in case everyone's forgotten. I would have to start this off by saying NWA had its innovator of violence and offense in Terry Funk, and he ushered in ECW and WWE's innovator of offense and violence in Tommy Dreamer and in Mick Foley, better known as Mankind. So we always wondered who would be that innovator of offense for WCW. And lo and behold, it would be one of Diamond Dallas Page's closest friends within the company before it closed its doors 20 years ago, Chris Kanyon. He came up in 1990, in the early 90s, around 92, 93. Came up around that era of WrestleMania 9 and Wrestle War 92. He was trained very well by Fabulous Moolah and a few others. Alpha of the Wild Samoans, also to be exact. So he kind of got a good teaching, if I would say the least, for breaking into the business.
Keep going. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's also had a few notable tag team partners, mentioning again Diamond Dallas Page. Also a part of the tag team it was Bam Bam Bigelow, and they made a trio known as the New Jersey Triads. They were, I don't know, the WCW answer to the Dudley Boys, I guess, in the late 90s, early 2000s. He's that era was something else because he also got to do a movie with David Arquette, DDP, Macho Man Randy Savage. Everyone's favorite wrestling movie, if it's not The Wrestler, it's Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And I've actually seen that movie, and it is hilarious, yet traumatizing for a stunt that was done with David Arquette, with Diamond Dallas Page, and with Chris Kanyon. For those who don't remember that movie, there was a spot where they did this 3-stage of hell kind of doomsday steel cage, and they did a spot where Chris Kanyon took a massive backdrop onto the catway, and he consequently took time off, and I believe he got injured from that. I believe they thought he broke his back, but luckily he didn't, and he actually continued the match. That is around 99, 2000, toward the end of WCW, when it was all haywire and crazy nonsense of Vince Russo. So for those who want to look at that time period, it's on the network, WCW Library. Other notable characters that he portrayed were Mortis, and his character was merely a homage or a spinoff of Reptile from the movie Mortal Kombat, and his adversary was Glacier, who was trying to portray himself as Sub-Zero. And these were done in mid 1996, early 97, where those matches and that chemistry were incredible. Again, that is WCW heyday, Monday Night Wars. His manager was very influential in his career, helping him get pushes. Father James, who's currently in Impact Wrestling right now. He's also been known to manage guys like Abyss, better known as Joseph Park. So he's had a long, historic managerial career in pro wrestling too. So now back to the documentary. It's a lot to process with this one, Kiana. What did you get from it, from the background that he came from, or the secret that he really thought he was going to get ousted from?
Well, we have to think of the generational aspect. You know, Chris Kane grew up in a generation where, you know, being gay or, you know, LGBT was not highly accepted. And I remember a part of the episode where he went, I guess it was like a Christian school or Catholic school. Well, it was a religious center school, and
it's Catholic.
Yeah,
Catholic.
And he said, flat out said that he was gay, and he was like, "If it's who I am, what's wrong with me?" And you know, the good old like classic, you know, statement, "Oh, it's a sin. You know, we should get it out of you," and that, this, that, and the third. And what we see, or what I've seen throughout the episode, is basically all the series of events of him like being confrontational with James Mitchell, to, you know, increasingly erratic behavior and certain things, and even like making those self-deprecating, you know, comments about, you know, sexuality, really stem from like him having, he felt that he had to repress his true feelings and how he really felt for a long period of time. And that can take a toll on you mentally. So it can cause you to act in ways where it is out of, you know, your character, or the way, you know, your friends, family, and loved ones, even like your coworkers and your peers, tend to see you. So it is really clear to me why he struggled. Like, I read about him, I watched his matches, so I knew a little about his story, but I think the Dark Side of the Ring kind of helped me understand a little more and put things into perspective. So it really is just like, oh, an aha moment, like, oh, I can see why he felt the need to repress and just hold in. But it was a great thing when, you know, the Young Bucks and when he had came out to them, and he was like, oh, okay, because, you know, the young bucks, like I said, it's like the generational thing is kind of different because they came up in a time where, you know, being gay, you know, LGBT was becoming more acceptable. It's even more acceptable today because you see more open, you know, LGBT wrestlers, you know, in the industry, you know, like Sonya Deville, you know, Shayna Baszler, Jake Atlas, who, you know, was on NXT, got recently released, Mercedes Martinez, you know, the list goes on and on.
Wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute.
Yes.
You mean, Jake, you mean some of the recent departed NXT superstars or those who are currently on the roster? I mean,
yeah, there's a lot more. And then another person, hold on. And another person, Toni Storm, she came out as bisexual, so it was more open these days. People are more comfortable talking about it. It's like I said, it's the very generational aspect of it. And I think another thing that really stuck out to me, I wanted to talk about his character, like the character work a bit. I'm going to step away from the sexuality part. I kind of like how expressive he was with the characters that he played. Like, whether it be like the Men at Work tag team that just come out of nowhere, they're just like randomly like taking measurements and whatnot. And especially like his Mortis character, which is one of like my favorite characters with the mask and everything. And what I really enjoyed about him is that you can really tell that he's into it. And he kind of lives and breathes that essence of that character. And even to the wrestling, how innovative it was. And that's why I'm so glad they put Brian Cage on the episode, because of course Kane was kind of like his trainer, you know, mentor. And Kanyon was doing those very innovative moves, innovative offense, like the swinging net breaker, or, you know, certain moves that you kind of see in like AEW, that AEW style you tend to see today. And it's very innovative, but it's kind of sad that he's not as credited or as, you know, highly revered as the other wrestlers of his time period. So you can continue with your point.
I was actually let's see. Okay, so he has his pro debut in training in '92, and he's fighting these demons about his sexuality, and it's ironic that he's doing this and he's battling these demons. I say a year after Earvin Magic Johnson, one of the greatest professional basketball point guards of all time, he comes out saying that I don't know if people remember where Magic Johnson comes out and says that I contracted HIV. And a lot of people thought he got full-blown AIDS. And he got ridiculed for a long time, saying, well, you know, I got ridiculed for a long time saying, well, how can you cheat on your wife and contract this disease? And this disease is being associated with the LGBT community to start off with. So that was one of the first things that came to my mind when seeing this documentary of a secret or of a shocking revelation of something that happens in your past and how it can either hinder you or it can hopefully teach people something.
I think in a way it kind of does both, because that battle that he had was lifelong. He had his up periods and down periods, you know, like for instance, he was on the Howard Stern show, he was being more open about his sexuality and, you know, being able to joke about it and have like that satirical aspect to it, right? But then he was still having that battle where he had to constantly defend. He felt that he constantly needed to defend his sexuality or defend who he was. But I think with his career, I think his overall legacy, not just like in his innovative offense and like his character set, but also like his willingness to ultimately take that leap of faith and come out and say, yes, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, he didn't live that much longer after that, because like James Mitchell said, you know, any day now, him and Diamond Dallas Page was just like, we don't think he's going to be here much longer. And I remember the scariest part, this was towards the end, where Kanyon was like at a bar with like his friends. He was like joking around, you know, laughing about it, like his sexuality and like other things and whatnot. And then a fan walked up to Kanyon and basically expressed his appreciation for him and how he inspired him because he came out. And then Mitchell finds out that, I think like prior to that night, he had like tried to like basically run himself over, get run over by a car, and dealing with like the suicidal issues, suicidal ideation.
He did, because see, here's what I'm gonna kind of peel back from this is that, and I know this is gonna sound more controversial than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's more acceptable for women to be gay or what have you, except transgender, than it is for men to be anything in that community.
But can you go like further into that? Can you elaborate?
Well, and this is just my opinion. I don't want to burn any bridges or seem like I'm hateful, because it's just not my lifestyle that I want to roll with. But I understand the hate that comes with it, being that myself, I'm straight, I love women, I have no problem saying that. But with my situation, medically, I have a slight limp in the way that I walk. And getting bullied for having a disability, that's one thing. But for some people to be dummies and to assume that I'm swinging for the fences too, you know, he's just an idiotic dummy, you know, to assume that about me. So not only did I have to defend that, I had to defend the fact that me walking with a significant limp was due to a sports injury. But as far as why I think women are more acceptable to the community than guys, is that guys are meant to be macho. That's what we're meant to be. We are not meant to be sensitive, and we're not meant to be vulnerable to anything.
Just because you're not meant to. I mean, human emotions are always there. It's bound to happen. Whether you want to or not.
But see, it is a sign of weakness to cry, you know, to cry over something.
Man, what's the point? That's what your crying ducks are there for, to cry.
And I say that like this: if a man cries over a chick flick, yet you don't have a chick to be crying shoulder to shoulder with, that's a bit suspect. And if
suspect to who?
Yes. And if you are into, that's just my opinion. And if you are into the cross-dressing and the, you know, fashion thing, well, it's not cool to act feminine, and then you get offended by somebody, and then you want to start doing the whole macho thing and defend it like, oh yeah, now I can beat you up like a dude. Nah, I got a huge problem with certain people of the community doing that than the community itself. Some people do make the LGBT community look horrendous just as much as those in the non-LGBT community make the other people look stupid. So, I mean,
yeah, well, that's understandable. All I can tell you is just to be careful with that. But I am going to give you the space to say that because on this podcast, but just in real life, be careful with that. That's my warning to you, young man.
Oh no! Again, I'm not knocking anybody. I mean, whatever you choose to do you. But don't assume everybody thinks like you and is gonna go with it. And if people choose to come at you that way, and they try to joke to everybody, oh yeah, he's in denial. No, I'm not in denial about anything. That's just not my cup of tea. And just because it's not my cup of tea, I shouldn't just go with it because it's something that everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and that can be applied to various aspects of life.
Exactly. Like I said, I know it's wrong to hate people for a sexual orientation. It really is. But if it takes the government to make laws for people in this community, and they're taking away from those of other communities, something's wrong. And
Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, I can give an example as to the community of those who have physical and mental limitations and conditions. You're taking a lot away from people of that community, but putting in laws for LGBT so that they don't get discriminated against.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I have a condition. I know it's legitimate. I don't have to be defined. I'm being defined by my mental or physical limitations, yet my orientation is not in question. So now the government is deciding to put in place laws that those who are not of the community, LGBT, you have to abide by everything so that the LGBT community does not feel outcasted.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I don't understand why do it. If I don't understand why do it, I don't understand why take away from people of another community to please another one. And what I mean by that is this, and this is a statement that I'm probably really going to catch for it, but again, this is supposed to be America. We are supposed to have free speech.
Mm-hmm.
You can't choose what race you're going to be. You cannot choose what upbringing you have or what have you, but you can choose your religious beliefs. You can choose your orientation and your political beliefs. You can choose those three. but you can't choose whether or not you're going to have limitations mentally or physically, your parent, your who your parents are going to be, who, and what your surroundings are going to be. You don't have a say in those.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe we are supposed to be treated fairly, but some people do take it a bit too far.
So you feel that is a disproportionate amount of attention given to the LGBT community?
In some ways, yes. And then, like I said, if you're a part of a different community, like those who have physical limitations or mental challenges like myself, you're having to always prove something every single day you wake up and do something. You're always needing some written documentation to say that I'm mentally or physically capable of either being around people or being able to work and provide for myself or things like that. But the government can go ahead and put in law, hey, anybody of the LGBT community has a right to do the exact same thing, and nobody should discriminate against them.
Mm-hmm.
Something ain't right with that.
Coming from someone who's not really a part of either one communities, you know, I can't really jump to conclusions or even make observations, really. The best thing I can do, especially as a person who tends to be moderate on most issues, is to learn and absorb as much information as I can possible. But it's good that you brought up your points. You know, I like to listen with logic and not emotion, and for you to just get your points out. So with that being said, let's switch back to Chris Kanyon. And I want to get kind of like your insight of what do you think, what kind of legacy you think Chris Kanyon left behind overall? You know, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I wanted your perspective.
Okay, so I would assume he had a 14-year career, maybe at most.
Yes, it was 14 years.
Oh well, so I got it on the shot of the dark. How about that? And I would say his style of offense, we caught a great time with him, the Hardys, Shawn Michaels, RVD. As far as smaller guys who could high fly and do some technical working, and you get a lot of oohs and ahs on their creative offense. So I think if I'm not mistaken, it was said either by Chris Jericho or Nick or Brian Cage that he's a unsung hero for the creative offense. He's an unsung hero. Like I said, we have Tommy Dreamer, we have Mick Foley, and we have Terry Funk. But a lot should be looked at more to Chris Kanyon.
Mm-hmm. And just his offense, you know, it was quite innovative for his time, very ahead of his time. You know, he was this large guy, but he was very agile, and he moved like a cruiserweight in the ring. Not just him, but DDP as well, to an extent. But I think I paid more attention to Kanyon's unique offense for that reason. And do you see it like guys like Brian Cage, you know, he created like this, I guess, this legacy or kind of lineage of like bigger guys moving like cruiserweights. Some people are not entirely for, you know, bigger men moving in that style, but I particularly enjoy it because, you know, it can be quite shocking. And that's that's what I enjoy about Kane's work. Granted, I'm on the younger side, so I don't really know as much as the extent until it's like his rivalries or, you know, his more memorable feuds.
Well, his like I said, his rivalry, and I've watched it, Kiana. If you have access to Peacock, it's on the WWE Network. You can watch 1997 for a short time. He and Glacier, they had chemistry, and I'm like, are you sure these guys were not stunt doubles for Mortal Kombat or Mortal Kombat Annihilation or for Battle of, even in the gaming department? Like, these cats were. It was almost like watching a Kumite event almost. These boys were something else. And then once he got rid of that gimmick, everybody wondered what he looked like because the men, what was the tag team he came in on? The men at work gimmick. People really didn't see his face that well. I mean, because it was kind of like a blumbering gimmick. But his work as Mortis, and then his work as himself once he joined the Flock. Now, that was a stable other people forgot about in WCW. Yes, we know about the Four Horsemen. Yes, we know about the NWO, Black and White, Hollywood, and the Elite and Wolfpack factions. But after that, there are two other factions that people don't talk about with WCW that actually had some good talent. Revolution, the Flock, and the Filthy Animals.
I love the Filthy Animals.
You could those units, once you kind of got away from the NWO angle for a bit, those three units, so much promising talent. I mean, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, Saturn, Malenko, Benoit, Raven, you had so much talent and you did not utilize them because you were so fascinated with the NWO. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, and that was the focus. And I'm pretty sure that was kind of, I would bet my money that was probably a point of contention backstage in WCW because, like you said, all that talent, but yet they were greatly overshadowed in NWO.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, we all know who is being canceled for his responses from last week's Dark Side of the Ring, and who unfortunately took a punch in the mouth and a career killer reaction from it, Tommy Dreamer. It's ironic. Ric Flair's name has come up one more time in yet another Dark Side of the Ring.
That's because he's a big part of wrestling history, but it's not always been good.
The infamous Howard Stern episode and the clip where
John Cena was on another Howard Stern episode as well. And apparently fans are trying to cancel him too.
And I don't see why cancel people for their opinion on what they believe was the reason why certain things happen. I mean, you cannot cancel John Cena because, one, he does Make-A-Wish. He's the most requested Make-A-Wish grantor of all time.
That is true.
You cannot cancel John Cena because, and I don't even know if it's true or not, that he said he's known Kanyon for a long time. I don't know how true that might be.
Yeah, I was like, are you sure?
And this is in
Kind of like
2000.
PR to
And
me.
this is in 2006, where Chris Kanyon is not in WWE. He is on the indie circuit. John Cena is the WWE champion. He hadn't even been in WWE at the time that Chris Kanyon was in WWE.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, did they exactly cross paths? It's hard because of the timeline. It's hard to like really come to conclusions with that.
I don't know if it's the timeline or anything, because if you say you've known Chris Kanyon for a long time, then you came across him in the OVW territory while he was rehabbing. And you seen him do dark matches with you and Randy Orton and Batista and Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar. I mean, I think, and I think what was said was his WWE tenure was a failure. And
yeah, that's what he said.
I don't want to agree with the statement, but John Cena was the wrong person to make that statement that Chris Kanyon was a failure in WWE. He was
because John Cena was in the beginning of his career, and on top of that, it was just like, I don't know, it was like too soon, but yeah, I don't really think John should have made that call.
Now, I hate to say this, Ric Flair justified to make that statement. Why? Why is Ric Flair justified to make the statement that Chris Kanyon was a failure in WWE? One reason. He had previous experience with Kanyon in WCW.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's who should have made that statement. And for John to make it and for Rick to co-sign it,
that's messy. That was a very messy situation.
But I will say the angle where I feel bad for him, he came in hot off the invasion angle. He came in hot. He was a dual champion, and that was great. But post invasion angle, that's when things hit the fan. It was terrible for Chris Kanyon in WWE. The Undertaker angle that Paul Heyman was working with him, I really feel bad that he came back off of injury just to get humiliated. And when I tell you he got lit up with a vicious, with no mild intent chair shot, my God, I don't see how he didn't have brain damage. They usually tell you to protect yourself and get your hands up, but I think they told him to take it square on the head, and Undertaker did not hold back. He could have held back. And I mean, it was a vile chair shot. Man alive, if I ever had to hear that again, whoo.
Okay, so kind of like get ready to close things out. I wonder what the next episode of Dark Side of the Ring is. I don't think I caught it.
Actually, I caught it. I did catch the announcement as to what this will be. And this will be another Mick Foley led Dark Side of the Ring.
Do you know who or what is center on?
It's a center on Fujinami.
Yes. Yay. Tatsumi Fujinami.
And the matches that they produced, there are some
Tatsumi Fujinami. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some highly explosive matches that will be talked about on that episode of Dark Side of the Ring this coming Thursday at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central on Vice TV, as is tomorrow night, WWE goes extreme with Extreme Rules. Pre-show at 7 p.m., 8 o'clock main show start time. So we will be vlogging that one and unveiling all of its fallout on Raw and SmackDown. Not to mention the third ever modern WWE draft. Where will Big E end up? Will Roman switch sides? Will Bianca retain the title or get the title back rather?
Mm-hmm.
So many questions. Will we have to break up Pat McAfee and Michael Cole?
I hope not, but you never know.
Could we get Michael Cole and Byron Saxton again? I don't know.
I like Michael and Pat together, but I don't mind Byron either.
Yes, and next week when we come to y'all, it will be Blood Wire and the Otani's FMW.
I can't wait. This is my area of expertise, so I'm very excited. This is what I've been waiting on. I've been waiting on this episode. I cannot wait.
My oh my, and more blood, more guts, and mercy.
Oh, and for a final bit, this is kind of like a birthday wish. So tomorrow is the United States champion Damian Priest's birthday. His birthday is the day of the pay-per-view. So hopefully he retains the title, and that'll be like a sweet birthday gift. But you never know because it's a triple threat match, so his advantage slightly lessened. So happy early birthday to Damian Priest.
And actually, we also have to acknowledge this is also Spanish Heritage Month, going into October 15th. So for all of the Spanish heritage professional wrestlers and athletes, we thank you for giving us the passion and the creativity of showing your heritage to us, Americans. And yes, we all should learn something different from ourselves.
That's great. That's a great way to cap it off. So you got Extreme Rules coming up. Got my predictions laid out. Hopefully I get a good score. I'll let y'all know afterwards though. I don't want to say it, right now, and then, I end up hurting myself after the fact. So yeah, and all the matches are still pretty much the same. So don't have to add anything on. So hopefully I get my predictions right.
Well, you may get your predictions correct, but from what I've heard, there could be some surprises that could go down tomorrow night.
Don't say that and then mess up my predictions. I want to get.
No, I'm not speaking about the card.
I know, but people could come out during those matches and then mess up my predictions.
Yeah, So the best thing to do, check out Extreme Rules. We will see y'all with a vlog next week. So on that note, it is time to sign off and rock and roll.
Yeah, we got a lot more coming, y'all. Peace.
Be easy, y'all.